Hello and welcome to HT Auto. I'm Shubhadeep, and today I'm standing right next to the very hot, very techy Maruti Suzuki Brezza. Yes, the Brezza has been launched, or rather relaunched in the country amidst much fanfare, and it's promising to be a young and a feature-loaded product from the Maruti Suzuki camp. To speak to us about Maruti Suzuki and Maruti Suzuki Brezza, we're joined today by Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director at MSIL. Shashank-san, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you for
speaking to us. The car was first launched in 2016. It has seen several newer players coming in as well. Now, while the segment itself has evolved definitely, how has the customer who's buying into this segment evolved in these last 6 or 7 years?
So Shubhadeep, you're right. This segment, which was just around 129,000 units in 2016, last year became as large as 650,000. This is now the largest segment in the passenger vehicle industry. This is very important. And as you rightly pointed out, it attracted a lot of new players. And that's why it's also quite fragmented. However, one thing which we have observed about the customer, how he has changed, and we do a very close track of consumer preferences changing. We've been tracking it right since the time when Brezza was launched. So the consumer in the entry SUV segment, in the compact SUV segment, in 2016, at the time when Brezza was launched, had 3 main factors of buying for his purchase criteria. One was design, the second was brand reputation, and third was mileage, fuel efficiency. And this continued for some time. And in the last couple of years, though, we observed that one new factor was added in his buying criteria, and which has got a significant weightage. So while the earlier 3 factors still remain very important, this factor has also become very, very important. And that factor is technology and features. So the expectations of the new customer for the compact SUV is about the vehicle having more features and loaded with technology. And that's what we have tried to do with this new Brezza. While we have retained all the good positive values of those 3 criteria which I mentioned earlier, we have also added a lot of tech and many features, as we will talk about it in a few minutes.
Fair enough. But one of the points that you mentioned also was mileage. And I'm sure you keep getting this question over and over and over again. Maruti now has a petrol-only strategy. Your rivals in this segment and in several other segments are catering to both petrol buyers as well as diesel engine options. So with a petrol-only strategy specific to the Brezza, because Brezza was a diesel-only option previously, are you losing out on a market or an audience or a customer base that potentially is only interested in buying the diesel?
It's a very good question, I must say, because before I begin my explanation, I must tell you this new Brezza gives a fuel efficiency which is 18% higher than the previous Brezza. This gives a fuel efficiency of 20 kilometers to a liter plus. So it's in that sense very, very fuel efficient. In fact, many of the diesel vehicles in this category don't give this type of fuel efficiency. But having said that, I must also tell you that this segment is now more than 80% petrol. Just about 3-4 years back, it was the other way. 80% was diesel and 20% was petrol. And at that time, people said that, can you have a vehicle which is only petrol? Because diesel was 80%. But remember, when the Brezza came in with that 1.5 liter K-series petrol engine, the consumers have loved the performance so much that it still continues to be the market leader, even with petrol only. So last year, for example, we sold 115,000 Brezzas, which is great, I think, because we're doing 10,000 a month almost. And this was with petrol only. This segment, we have seen in this segment the big decline of diesel from 80% to less than 20%. And in fact, that's a trend which we are observing across the industry, not just in this segment. And there is a very good reason for it. Today, if you see the fuel price of gasoline and diesel, they are roughly similar, 8 or 9 rupee difference. So the running cost is more or less same. So there is no economic logic for anyone to pay that extra price for a diesel car. And diesel prices, once BS4 to BS6 conversion happened, vehicle prices are anywhere in the range of 150,000 rupee plus over the corresponding petrol vehicle. So where is the economic logic? And that's reflected in numbers. 80% became 20. In fact, at one point of time in the industry, 58% was diesel vehicles. It is now less than 17%. In fact, in some segments like the hatches, it doesn't exist now. In the A segment, it is about 1.6%. If you look at MPVs, even in MPVs, it is about 20-21%. So diesel is disappearing, and as we go ahead, new norms will come on emission like RD norms next year. Then that would make diesel even more expensive. Therefore, I don't think there is a future, and that's what Maruti Suzuki realized, and we went in for the all petrol.
Couple of key takeaways from what you just said, emission norms and the demand for petrol on the rise and pretty much dominating. You also mentioned MPVs, and you do offer the Ertiga with the SCNG option.
Yes.
And you've in the past underlined, and Maruti keeps underlining the CNG technology as the future. One of the questions that our readers and audience have been constantly asking us, and therefore I'm just taking it from them and putting it on to you.
Sure.
Are we seeing a CNG version of the new Brezza?
So listen, it's like this. We have about 15 vehicles in our portfolio. 9 of them have CNG. So the balance 6, we do have plans to have many more models to CNG. And we sort of are ready for it. But I'm not able to tell you the timelines for and the product-wise timeline. And the reason for that is that in the last couple of years, we have had such an overwhelming response to CNG that today the waiting periods for CNG in the models where it is available is so high. In fact, today, while we have overall 305,000 pending bookings, out of which 130,000 are CNG. So our first priority is to try to reduce this waiting period for the people who are already booked the CNG vehicle and waiting for it. And that is what is holding us back from bringing in our new products with CNG. But definitely we have plans to bring CNG in the other models as well.
Fair enough. Now let me get to the major point, the strength point of sorts about this car.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps the engine is there, yes, definitely, the transmission, all of that. But it's the tech inside. Now, some of the features inside this car, the head-up display unit, 360 surround view camera, ambient lighting, they're all great. But some of the other features, although they are great, have existed in rival models for quite some time. And I'm talking particularly about, say, the electric sunroof, wireless charging option. Now, it may be new inside the Brezza, but it's not really new in this segment. So what prompted the decision to incorporate the new Brezza with these technologies?
So that features and technology, as I said, has become a very important buying criteria. So it's not just a passing fad, which we thought it was in the last 1.5 years back when we first spotted this trend. So we typically look at a trend and observe it for some time to see that it is here to stay. And when we felt it's here to stay, as I just told you in response to your previous questions, we have decided to bring a lot of technology and the features. And while you said electric sunroof existed and so on and so forth, but I must tell you, in this segment, HUD is not available in any vehicle. Telescopic steering, not available in any vehicle. You look at 360 view camera, not available in this. So these are segment first. But obviously, when you get into those type of features which are not existing in the segment, surely you must first give all the features which are existing in the segment. So that we have done both. Get all the features which are provided by our competitors, as you rightly pointed out. And in addition, we gave these things which are not available in our competitor vehicles. So it's in that sense, we feel it's a great package. And that's why we have more than 46,000 bookings of the Brezza, even as we speak. That means there is a waiting of almost 4.5 months, even though we launched it only yesterday.
Fair enough. That's a point I'll absolutely take. But there is also a sense that we get from our readers who also, a large chunk of them who also say that while it's great that Maruti is focusing big time on technology and features and equipping their cars with a whole lot of these elements, Is Maruti now not playing the price and the value for money game, because the recent launches, the pricing seems to be not perhaps as per Maruti standards before? Because in years gone by, in times gone by, Maruti cars were always competing with rivals. One of the main selling point was that it's a value for money proposition.
Yeah, so I'm glad you raised this question, and I think in your question lies the answer. You mentioned price and value, and surely, if you look at the Brezza, starting from 7.99 going up to 14 lakhs, and you see all the features that we have added, the new technology, the bigger engine, the 1.5 liter engine, it is great value. So while sometimes we focus on price alone, but Maruti Suzuki, to my mind, was never about price. The advantage was value. Of course, a lower price gives you a higher value for the same sort of product. But you must be sure that first your product is what consumers want. You have to be sure first on that. Then at what price you offer so that he sees value in it. That is the step. It is not that you first look at the price but don't look at the product. It's not like that. So first you make the product such that the consumers want it, and then they are willing to pay a certain amount for it, and that they should feel is great value. I think the Brezza pricing, and for that matter, the new Baleno, which is also loaded with feature, or XL6 or Ertiga, they have all been doing very well, even though by Maruti standards, as you said, prices have creeped up. But still, I feel while the prices may have creeped up, the value has creeped up even more.
Fair enough. But how much of the price rise is actually also caused and affected by the rise in input costs?
Yeah.
Generally, I mean, those factors are at play.
Absolutely. In fact, there are 5 factors. You mentioned one of them, one is the general inflation. I don't remember any product at this moment where prices have ever come down. I mean, I don't. Let me think. Actually, no.
Yeah.
I have to think. So whether it's cloth or shirt or shoes or whatever, I mean, water bottle or phones, camera, watches, everything has gone up. So one is the general inflation.
Right.
By the way, in 1933, the top car, Bentley, was 30,000 rupees. Yeah, so 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 one is in general. Second is last couple of years, commodity inflation, which affects the auto cost structure, has actually gone up remarkably high. And OEMs have increased prices in response to that, but the price increase have not been as much as the commodity price increases, cost increases. In other words, not everything has been passed on to the consumers. That affects the profitability. That's the second reason. Third reason is that in response to regulatory changes of emissions, and we talked about BS4 to BS6, in response to that, we have seen the technology which is required to meet those norms, whether it's safety, whether it is emission, has also led to obviously an increase. And a good example was when there was a shift from BS4 to BS6 recently. So that is the third reason. Fourth reason is some of the taxes have gone up. For example, insurance costs have gone up, registration taxes have gone up, road tax have gone up in many states. So ultimately, consumer pays for it because he's looking at the on-road prices. Right. In fact, the interest rates have gone up in recent times, which also adds to the financial cost to the consumer. So cost to consumer increases. So that's one big reason. The fifth reason why prices have been going up is also because the number of features which you are adding obviously leads to an increase in cost, and people are preferring those higher end features, variants of the vehicle. So these are the 5 reasons why costs have gone up, and hence the prices.
That gets me to my penultimate question. You mentioned the 4th point. I'm going to take a cue from there and ask you about the safety feature. Now, in the past, you've expressed your views about the government possibly making it mandatory for manufacturers to equip every vehicle with 6 airbags, and you've made your views known. Can you just once again take us through your take on such a possible potential?
Yeah, so let me clarify. First of all, from a safety perspective, Maruti Suzuki has always had safety as a very big priority. All our products meet all the regulations. In fact, we go beyond the regulations in all our products. Secondly, if you see this Brezza, it has got a host of safety features. You know, it has got the HUD. By the way, it's the only one in the segment as we discussed. It's a safety feature. 360 view camera, also a safety feature. It has got ISOFIX. It's got ESP, Halo, EBD. It's built on the Suzuki Tech platform. It uses a high tensile steel for greater torsional rigidity. It has got 20 plus features of safety. It's as good as it gets. So it is not as if we are compromising on safety in any way. It's always been a priority, and we will continue to meet whatever regulations are coming. We will continue to meet, and in fact, we have been exceeding.
Fair enough, but 6 airbags will actually drive up the cost even further. So
yeah, so when you say it's a price cost versus
value.
Sort of value, I'm sure, and it exists, of course, and different segments get affected differently by different cost increase. And we are talking of cost and price increase only because of airbags, but that's not the only reason why costs are going up. We just discussed 5 of them. Right. So whether they go up because of taxes or because of commodity prices, because of inflation, because of financial costs, etc., it's for the consumer, it's all the same.
Right.
Yes, but there are some segments which are affected more by the price because the price elasticity across segments is different. So at the lower end, obviously, the elasticity is higher, which means that people at this category, small car category, are affected more. And that is one of the reasons why small car segment has come down, has come down in volume. And I'm not getting into whether the cost is increased because of road tax or whether it is because of airbags, etc. But on the safety thing, let me tell you, we have accord a very high priority. All our products meet all regulations and actually exceed them.
Right, which gets me to my last question, and I've kept it as my last question for a reason. The Toyota Hyryder was recently unveiled. It's all set for an India launch. Now, you've already confirmed that Toyota and Suzuki together are working on a mid-size SUV for the Indian market.
Yeah.
So when is Brezza getting an elder SUV sibling?
So it's a great question, and I think it's the most common question which I'm answering these days.
It's a question that we've been getting a lot from our readers as well.
Yes, absolutely. So let me tell you, in the non-SUV sector, Maruti's market share is 67%. It is the highest we have had for the last 20 years. But when you look at the overall market share, it has come down below 50%. And the reason is primarily because SUVs, our market share is less. And our SUV market share, which is just, if we have to achieve our target of 50% market share, we have to do well in SUVs also. And clearly, in the entry SUV, we have the Brezza, which is the market leader, giving us good market share. In the B segment, the other category, which is the MPV, we have 60% market share. So that also we feel are comfortable. In the mid SUV segment, obviously we need to strengthen ourselves. We have in the overall SUV market just 2 models, Brezza and the S-Cross. And there are 48 models in the industry. If we have to get market share, we need to strengthen this portfolio, and that's what we are doing with the new Brezza here. And yes, you said it right, we will be introducing in the mid-size SUV very shortly, and we'll be unveiling it, in fact, in the 3rd week of July, this July.
Oh, that's great.
And the production, as you know, for that model we have already announced, will be in August. And we will take it from there, and surely this segment is also quite large. It's 18% of the market. So we hope to get good volumes even in this segment with the vehicle which you were just mentioning.
All right, super, great. All the best for that car, but definitely all the very best with the Brezza and all your new models and the existing ones, which continue to do phenomenally well in the Indian car market. Shashank-san, thank you once again for speaking to us.
Much.
Very insightful, and thank you for watching and tuning in. Do follow our HT Auto YouTube channel as well.
Thank you.